What's up, folks? Terribly sorry for such a long time between videos. The day job has been getting in the way. In today's episode of The Art of Engineering, we are going to look at the Homebrew Bible. Well, the other day, I can't remember which band it was, but I was down the bottom of the band working CW and had a very, very affable rag chew with a gentleman, and he was running all homebrew equipment like me. He seemed to be very interested in the fact that I was also operating homebrew, or at least kit built stuff. And his name was Drew, and the call sign was VK3XU. So anyway, got off that call and was having a bit of a chin wag with my mate Chris, and he said, "Oh, that's Drew Diamond," and I'm like, "Oh, you mean Drew Diamond, the guy that writes all the homebrew books?" Like, yeah. And I was like, wow, I didn't even realize. Having had that wonderful QSO, that was enough to make me pull the trigger. And I'd been thinking about doing this for a very long time because on so many occasions I've heard Peter Parker mentioned Drew and his designs. And so many homebrewers online always mention that the design that they're working on has been inspired by something that Drew has designed himself. So we got online. The Wireless Institute of Australia is one place that you can get these books, and we got all 4 books of the series. They've got great line drawing artwork in them that Drew himself has done, and they're just a sight to behold. So I'll show you what I've got here. That is volume 1. This is volume 2. This is volume 3. And finally, this is volume 4. It's that part of the video again where I'm going to ask you to reach down and tap on that subscribe button like it's a CW key, and maybe hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Also, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers, and it'd be wonderful just to see 1K there, just for my OCD's sake. Anyway, back to the video. Each of these volumes, there is an absolute gold mine of information for home brewers. Now, I know that some of you might criticize some of the designs that appear in these books in so much as they're not the most modern designs. Some of them are getting on to 15, 20 years old, especially in the earlier volumes. But I think a thing to remember about home brewing is that there's a huge amount of elegance and also some simplicity at times in analog design. Now, some of these designs may be very difficult to build in so much as some parts have become quite hard to find. For instance, variable capacitors, large transformers, all that sort of stuff. But it should be noted that a lot of the time you can replace certain elements of a design with more modern alternatives. Or if you show enough initiative, you can quite often find these things online. I know for a fact that when I built my L-match antenna tuner, it wasn't that much of a slog to find yourself a variable capacitor. It should also be noted that there's a lot of theory covered in these volumes, and there's also a huge amount of schematics that have not changed over time. Low pass filters, values for all those things, amplifiers, all that sort of stuff. The other thing that I really find wonderful about this series is that in the earlier days, it was more common to have separate transmitter and receiver designs rather than transceivers. And certainly for the sake of simplicity, if you've already got an operating receiver, it's nice to find a good transmitter design that you know is going to work. You may also decide that you want to have a dabble in more old school VFO design. That's certainly something that I'm thinking that I would like to do in the future. I know that the DDS route seems to be the way that most homebrewers and hobbyists are going these days, by virtue of the fact that it is a very simple way of building a very stable VFO. But when we say simple, it's simple for people because they don't have to do all the programming, and they don't have to design the CPU and all the stuff that goes into such a amazing piece of technology. So once again, when you've got a free running VFO, which is basically an amplified oscillator with a capacitor and an inductor, there's something very, very elegant and very beautiful about that idea. And it's something that I want to pursue. Now, quite often as a home brewer, you'll find you're having a bit of a dry spell. You'll run out of ideas. You'll be thinking, well, what should I build next? These books are an absolute blessing when it comes to that situation, because you start flicking through here and it stimulates ideas. Before you know it, you're on to the next project. Case in point, the other day I switched on my switch mode power supply. In fact, look, I'm going to show you what's happening presently in the shack. Now, this is my Air Spy, and it is presently running on my 1973 iMac. Well, it's not 1973; it's about 2000 and something, but it's a 2007 iMac, I think. And as you can see, reasonably clean waterfall, not too many issues happening. Now, were I to see a signal there, and I decided, hey, I want to fire up my 40 meter rig, or actually we're on 14 megs at the moment, but say I was on 7 megs and I wanted to fire up one of my rigs or my TS520 and have a go at QSOing, and I'm using this as my pan adapter. Let's pop up here to my switch mode supply that I got from JCar, which they said was good for running communications equipment. And of course we switch it on and come back down here and take a look at that. What an absolute travesty. It's generating a heap of crud. That is with the supply on. And now we switch the supply off and the noise disappears. Now, keep in mind that the S-Spy isn't even running on that supply. I want to build myself a linear power supply. Well, as you can see here, Drew has actually read my mind. He has a way of quieting a switch mode power supply. I could go that route, but I am just not very happy with the whole idea of having anything that generates noise in the shack. You're dealing with enough noise from your neighbors, let alone producing your own noise. What about reusing a microwave oven transformer for high voltage power supplies? For if you wanted to build tube gear, so that's something that I want to do in the future. But you can also rewind one of these microwave oven transformers for high current supplies, 13.8 volt linear supplies. And so all of this, and I'm sure he's got that written somewhere else in one of these volumes as well. So many wonderful ideas. And here we have a Misers 13.8 volt, 10 or 20 amp power supply. So this is the design that I will be building. Now that I have the knowledge that I can rewind the transformer from a microwave. Speaking of which, you ask the universe, and the universe provides. Went out for a walk, the screws were seized on this, and I had a screwdriver in my pocket. I always carry a screwdriver in my pocket in case I see interesting electrical gear, but couldn't get the screws out of the damn thing, which is probably good, because it's probably why someone hadn't robbed all the copper out of it. So popped it in the shopping trolley. Yes, I will return the trolley, don't worry. That was by the side of the road as well, as they always are, and got this wonderful haul, which I'll be discussing later on when I talk about how I build this power supply. But here's our laminated core transformer, and what we're going to do is we cut the secondary out of this, making sure that we don't damage the primary, and we do our windings, and we get this to a 20 volt secondary rather than, as it presently stands, a 5 kilovolt transformer. A quick note of caution about removing parts from the microwave oven. Quite often the capacitor, the large condenser slash capacitor in there, will still hold a voltage that is a deadly voltage, even when it's sitting by the side of the road. Also, if you start ripping apart the magnetron, which you shouldn't really do, there is quite often beryllium inside that. If you breathe the dust from that magnetron, that can be very harmful, if not deadly, to your health. So all of this comes with a caveat that if you decide to play with the insides of a microwave or rewind a transformer, all of that stuff happens at your own risk. So make sure you're not only confident, but also that you know what you're doing. Back to the video. So the Drew Diamond books have already created opportunities for home brewing that I would not have thought of on my own. Now, who is Drew Diamond? Well, He's a rather unassuming chap, really. Doesn't big note himself, and certainly if I was a god of homebrew like he is, I'd be shouting it from the rooftops and blowing my own trumpet. He grew up in Hampton, southeastern suburb of Melbourne, became interested in radio as a lad of 12, building crystal sets, then 1, 2, and 3 valve regen sets. With the help of his mentor, the late Frank O'Dwyer, VK3XU. Drew has been active on air since 1966, almost exclusively on CW and using chiefly homemade equipment. Like I said at the beginning of this video, that I'd already had a QSO with him, so he's still out there. Now retired, he spent 31 years in various technical jobs with the PMG, Telecom, Telstra, which is Australia's major telecommunications company for people that are not Australian, with 25 of those halcyon years spent in the instrumentation engineering section of the PMG, which is Postmaster General, Telecom, Telstra Research Laboratory. So telecommunications engineer, essentially. Now, like I said, I ordered these books through the Wireless Institute of Australia. You do get a $5 discount if you're a member of the WIA, but even if you're a non-member, you can organise an order. I think it's $30 per volume. I think money absolutely well spent. I've had these next to the bed at night time, bit of nighttime reading, and just so, if anything, too many ideas. This is a lifetime of ideas. Perhaps not all the ideas that Drew's ever had, but certainly a lot of the stuff that he's built himself. Now, volume 1 is just an absolute plethora of designs. You've got direct conversion receiver, receiver converters. You've got simplex sidebander for 3.580 megahertz, a TCF transceiver for 80 meters. It goes on to talk about things on soldering, making air wound coils, etc., etc. So this is just an absolute grab bag of design. So probably what you could do is, if you wanted to have a dip your toe in and see what's on offer, is grab volume 1. But I don't think you're going to stop there, so you might as well just get them all. Volume 2 onwards, the table of contents is a little bit more organized, I guess, or maybe there's just more designs as well. So it's broken up into power supplies, receivers, transmitters, antennas, test equipment, in the workshop, accessories, and an appendix for further reading and whatnot. So from volume 2 onwards to volume 4, you've got that type of layout that is provided. And I am just looking forward to absolutely years and years and years of building and utilization of these ideas. So if you're a serious home brewer, I cannot recommend highly enough that you have these books from Drew Diamond in your library. It will nourish your concept and it'll just make you a better home brewer. Now, this is a site that I've visited on numerous occasions. It's Marxy's Musings on Technology. Now, Peter B. Marx is a ham as well, and on other occasions, I've actually commented on the blog and asked questions, and he's been nice enough to reply and give me some great answers. In fact, when I was trying to get this damn thing onto Ubuntu, I was having some issues, and he definitely helped me out. So we have some wonderful photos of a visit to Drew Diamond. Amazing images of Drew's shack and some of his older school gear there. I'm just absolutely in envy of the stuff that he's got there. Let's have a look at another photo here. Here's another shot here of a schematic and cables and gears and just all these test leads and just absolutely fantastic stuff. It looks like he's a person that's very into the. I think it would be an understatement to say that Drew Diamond is obsessed about RF and communications. But get a load of that shelf of test gear up there and all the gear that he's got. So very, very active in the homebrew scene, and an absolutely fantastic article as well. So that's the blog by Peter B. Marx, and it's called Marxy's Musings on Technology. And I will put a link below in the description for this video, because this is another thing that really got me fascinated about this book series as well. So it's been the perfect confluence of influences, me having the chat on CW, this article on the books, various other people mentioning them as well, and I can certainly say I'm not disappointed with my purchase.